Always start your day with powerful morning prayers for protection and life transformation. Morning prayer. There is a moment every day that quietly decides the tone of everything that will follow. It is not when you answer your first message, not when you open your social media, and not even when you step out of your house. It is that sacred moment when your eyes open, your lungs receive the first conscious breath of the morning, and your soul has a choice to start the day distracted and unprotected, or to start the day under the covering of God's presence. Morning is not just a routine transition from darkness to light. Spiritually, morning is an invitation. It is the hour when heaven gently knocks at the door of your heart and asks, "Will you walk with me today?" The way you respond to that invitation shapes your mind, your emotions, your decisions, and even the spiritual battles you will face throughout the day. There are people who wake up and immediately feel the weight of yesterday. The thoughts rush in, worries about money, tension in relationships, fears about the future, regret over mistakes, shame over sins, confusion about decisions. Before they even speak a word, their mind is already flooded with anxiety. But there is also another way to wake up. You can awaken and choose to lift your spirit to God before lifting your phone. You can start your day with powerful morning prayers that do not just bless your routine, but place a shield around your life, your family, your mind, your emotions, and your destiny. Morning prayer is not a ritual of religious people trying to impress God. Morning prayer is alignment. It is when you say, "God, before the world speaks to me, I want to hear from you. Before problems try to shape my mood, I want your presence to shape my heart. Before the enemy tries to plant fear, I want you to plant faith." When you do this consistently, your mornings stop being emotional chaos and start becoming spiritual foundations. You may have noticed that on some days everything seems to go wrong. Arguments appear out of nowhere, unexpected bad news arrives, temptations feel stronger, confusion is louder, and you end the day exhausted in body and spirit. What many people do not realize is that there are attacks, atmospheres, and influences that are confronted or allowed in the first minutes of your day. When you start your day in your own strength, you are vulnerable. When you start your day in God's presence, you are covered. Powerful morning prayers are not just about asking for things. They are about inviting God to rule over your thoughts, sanctify your plans, reveal hidden traps, close wrong doors, and open the right ones. They are about surrender, warfare, declaration, and intimacy. They transform your mornings, and by doing so, they begin to transform your life. In this message, we are going to walk through a deep journey into 5 powerful dimensions of morning prayer. These are not empty phrases or mechanical words. They are spiritual postures that protect you, shift your inner atmosphere, and begin a process of life transformation. Each topic will guide your heart to a new place of awareness, authority, and surrender when you wake up. If you allow these truths to enter deeply into your spirit, your mornings will never be the same. This is not about perfection, it is about consistency. It is not about sounding holy, it is about being honest before God. Whether you are just starting your walk with Him or you have been walking with Him for years, there is always a deeper way to begin your day in His presence. So as you listen, let your heart be open. Imagine your next morning. Imagine starting it differently, not in a rush, not in fear, but in peace, strength, and spiritual clarity. Imagine waking up with the certainty that you are not walking into the day alone, but covered by the one who never sleeps or slumbers. That is what powerful morning prayer does. It puts you under the covering of the one who holds your day, your life, and your destiny in His hands. Now let us begin with the first dimension of this journey, recognizing the gift of a new morning in the presence of God. Recognizing the gift of a new morning in God's presence. Every morning, something extraordinary happens, and most people never notice it. The alarm goes off, the mind complains, the body feels heavy, and the first instinct is often to say, "I need more sleep," or "I am not ready for this day." Indeed, but behind that ordinary moment is a deep spiritual reality. If you opened your eyes, it is because God said, "I am not finished with you yet." When you start to see your mornings as a gift instead of a burden, your whole internal posture begins to change. You do not wake up as someone who is merely surviving another day. You wake up as someone who has chosen to be here, now, in this exact season of life, for a purpose that still continues. Morning prayer begins with awareness. Before you ask, before you battle, before you declare, you recognize, God, you gave me this new morning. You sustained me through the night. You kept my heart beating while I was unconscious. You kept dangers away that I never even saw. I'm alive because you allowed it. This recognition is powerful, because ingratitude is one of the first doors the enemy uses to poison your day. When you wake up complaining, comparing, or resenting the life you have, your day begins under a heavy atmosphere. Gratitude, on the other hand, is like opening the windows of your soul and letting light in. A grateful heart is not blind to problems, but it refuses to let problems become bigger than the God who gave another day of life. So, imagine your next morning. Instead of letting random thoughts dominate the first minutes, you intentionally choose your first words. Maybe still in bed, with your eyes barely open, you whisper, "Thank you, Lord, for this new day. Thank you for another chance to walk with you, to grow, to be transformed." These words may seem simple, but they are spiritual keys. They are keys that open doors of peace, clarity, and protection. They are keys that start to shift the spiritual climate around you. Recognizing the gift of a new morning also means recognizing that each day is a page in a story God is writing. Some chapters are painful, some confusing, some joyful, but none of them are meaningless. Morning prayer places your day back in the author's hands. You can say, "Lord, I do not know everything this day will bring, but you do. I place every moment, every conversation, every decision, every encounter into your hands. Write this day according to your will, not mine." When your heart takes this posture, anxiety loses some of its power. Much of the stress people feel in the morning comes from trying to control everything ahead of them. They mentally rehearse future conflicts, imagine worst-case scenarios, and replay past failures. Without realizing it, they are trying to live tomorrow and yesterday inside today. Morning prayer pulls you back to the present and into the presence of God. In that quiet space, you can admit your fears without pretending. You can say, "God, I feel afraid of what could happen today. I feel overwhelmed by responsibilities. I feel pressure on my shoulders. But I choose to remember that you are already in every hour I am about to live." Nothing you will face in this day is a surprise to him. He has not only seen it, he has gone before you. Recognizing the gift of a new morning also means recognizing that your emotions do not define your day. Some mornings you wake up feeling spiritually strong, ready to worship, ready to pray. Other mornings you wake up tired, empty, cold, or distant. The enemy loves to use those mornings to whisper, "You are not spiritual enough. God is far from you. There is no point in praying." But the truth is that God's presence is not based on how you feel. Your feelings may be weak, but His faithfulness never is. So, even on those heavy mornings, you can choose to say, "God, I do not feel strong today. I do not feel full of faith. But I still choose to come to you. I still choose to give you the first words of this day." That choice, even made with a trembling heart, is precious to Him. Heaven does not measure the power of your prayer by the intensity of your emotion, but by the sincerity of your surrender. As you begin to practice this, your mornings stop being automatic reactions and become intentional encounters. Instead of jumping straight into noise, You begin with stillness. Instead of opening your phone, you open your heart. It does not require an hour on your knees. Even a few minutes offered honestly to God can begin to reshape the entire structure of your day. Imagine waking up and before touching anything, simply placing your hand over your heart and saying, "Lord, here I am. I offer you this mind, these emotions, this body, this schedule, these responsibilities. I cannot handle this day without you. Walk with me from this first breath to the last moment before I sleep." This is not weakness. It is wisdom. The truly strong are not those who say, "I got this," but those who say, "God, without you, I do not got this." Recognizing the gift of a new morning will also begin to heal the way you see your own life. Many people wake up feeling useless, like their existence does not matter. They feel stuck, invisible, and exhausted. Morning prayer becomes a space where God can remind you, you are not an accident. I woke you up on purpose. Your presence on this earth today has meaning. Even if your current season seems small, hidden, or monotonous, God can use this day to shape your character, your faith, your calling. Maybe today you will not see a miracle that shakes the world. Maybe there will be no dramatic sign, no extraordinary event. But if you wake up and decide to invite God into the smallest details, your ordinary becomes sacred. Cooking a meal becomes an act of service to your family in God's presence. Working becomes an offering of excellence before Him. Conversations become opportunities to reflect His love and wisdom. Every step you take in awareness of God's presence turns a simple day into holy ground. Morning prayer helps you remember that you are not waking up into a battlefield unarmed. You have the armor of God available to you, but armor does not put itself on. The shield of faith, the helmet of salvation, the breastplate of righteousness, the belt of truth, the shoes of the gospel of peace, and the sword of the Spirit are not poetic images, they are spiritual realities. In the morning, you can intentionally declare, "Lord, I put on the helmet of salvation to protect my mind from lies. I put on the breastplate of righteousness to guard my heart. I take up the shield of faith to quench every fiery dart of the enemy. I fasten the belt of truth around me. I stand in the shoes of your peace. I take up the sword of the Spirit, which is your word." You may not see it, but in the unseen realm things begin to shift when you pray like this with faith. Attacks that were being prepared against you lose their force. Atmospheres around your home begin to change. Thoughts that would have enslaved your mind lose some of their power. You are not just surviving the day. You are entering it as a son or daughter of God, covered by His armor and guided by His presence. Recognizing the gift of the morning also means recognizing that there is an enemy who does not want you to pray. He would rather you scroll than seek, rush than rest, worry than worship. He knows that a believer who starts the day rooted in God is much harder to destabilize later. That is why so many distractions appear in the first minutes of the day. Suddenly you remember everything you forgot to do. Suddenly the phone looks irresistible. Suddenly your mind wants to run in 10 directions. This is why you must be intentional. Morning prayer will not become a habit by accident. It becomes a habit by decision. You may need to adjust your schedule, sleep a little earlier, place your Bible or a journal near your bed, or decide that you will not touch your phone until you have spoken with God. These may seem like small practical steps, but they are acts of spiritual resistance. You are telling the enemy, "You will not own my first moments, God will." As you keep choosing this, your relationship with God deepens. Over time, your morning prayer stops feeling like a task and starts feeling like a meeting you long for. You begin to wake up with an expectation. What will God speak to my heart today? How will He guide me? What hidden traps will He reveal? What burdens will He lift? The more you recognize His presence in the morning, the more you will recognize His hand throughout the day. This is how life transformation begins, not with one emotional moment, but with daily decisions. You transform your life when you transform the way you start your day. You do not need to be perfect. You need to be willing. You do not need to impress God with complicated words. You need to invite Him with honest ones. So, let this truth sink into your spirit. Every morning you wake up is a message from God saying, I am giving you another chance to walk with me, to trust me, to be changed by my presence. Do not waste these mornings in distraction. Use them as doors into deeper intimacy and stronger protection. And if this message is speaking to your heart, if you desire to start your days in a new way, under the covering of God's presence and guidance, I invite you to stay connected to this journey. Make sure you subscribe to this channel so that each new message, each new prayer, and each new teaching can continue to strengthen your mornings and transform your life day by day, inviting God's protection and covering before anything else. When you wake up, you are not just stepping into a physical world of tasks, responsibilities, and routines. You are stepping into a spiritual battlefield that you often cannot see with your eyes, but you feel it in your mind, your emotions, and your circumstances. There are days when you cannot explain why everything feels heavy, why simple situations turn into conflicts, why your patience is thin for no apparent reason, or why your thoughts are suddenly flooded with fear, doubt, or temptation. This is not random. There are invisible pressures, influences, and attacks that move in the shadows of your day, and that is why it is not enough to start your morning only with coffee, plans, and strength of will. You need to start your morning under a covering, under a shield that is greater than your intelligence, stronger than your emotions, and higher than any attack that may come. That shield is the presence of God, invited intentionally through morning prayer. When you choose to begin your day by asking for God's protection, you are doing something powerful. You are refusing to walk uncovered. Think of how you would never leave your home on a cold, stormy day without proper clothing. You would not walk into a dangerous area without being alert. Yet so many people step out of their homes spiritually naked, emotionally exposed, and mentally unarmed, and only realize it when the attacks come. Morning prayer for protection is not paranoia. It is wisdom. It is the moment when you acknowledge, I do not know what this day holds, but I know that without God's covering, I am vulnerable. With His covering, I am secure even in the midst of storms. There are parts of your day you can anticipate, your job, your responsibilities, your appointments. But there are also things you cannot foresee. Unexpected phone calls, sudden bad news, people's reactions, misunderstandings, delays, accidents, and spiritual battles. Morning protection prayer is your way of placing all of it, seen and unseen, under the authority of God. You can say, with sincerity, Lord, I do not know what plans the enemy has crafted against me today, what traps he has tried to set in my path. But I ask you now to cancel every plan of darkness and expose every hidden snare. Cover me under your wings as I step into this day. When you pray like this, you are not imagining a distant God watching you from far away. You are invoking the reality of a God who walks with you, goes ahead of you, and surrounds you. Imagine the presence of God like a shield that goes in front of you when you speak, when you drive, when you work, when you think, when you face people who do not wish you well, and when you enter environments that are spiritually heavy. You may not be aware of every trap or attack, but your Father is, and there are battles you will never even know about because His protection intercepted them before they touched you. This protection is not only external, it is internal. Many attacks begin in your mind, in the form of intrusive thoughts, lies about your identity, exaggerated fears, shame that tries to return, and hopelessness that whispers, nothing will change. Morning prayer for protection is a moment when you ask God not only to guard your body and your surroundings, but to guard your mind from the arrows of accusation and deception. You can say, Lord, I ask you to protect my mind today, guard my thoughts. Let every lie that tries to enter be confronted by your truth. Do not allow me to agree with voices that do not come from you. When you do this, something begins to shift in the way you experience your own thoughts. You become more discerning. You start to recognize when a thought is not just yours, but is an arrow aimed to discourage you, confuse you, or push you towards sin. Under God's covering, you gain the ability to pause, to reject, and to replace. Instead of letting a destructive thought grow roots, you can say, no, I do not receive this. This is not what God says about me. This is not what God says about my future. This is not what God says about this situation. That ability to resist begins in the morning, when you ask for protection and fill yourself with His truth before the day begins to shout at you. Protection prayer also involves surrendering your relationships. Some of the deepest wounds, heaviest burdens, and most painful attacks come not from strangers, but from the people closest to you. Words spoken in anger, betrayal, jealousy, manipulation, spiritual oppression through others. These are real battles. When you wake up and invite God's covering, you can bring every person and relationship before Him. Lord, I ask you to protect my relationships today. Cover my family, my spouse, my children, my friends. Guard my heart from bitterness. Guard my tongue from destructive words, and protect me from people who are being used to harm, drain, or deceive me. This does not mean that everyone around you will suddenly change or become perfect. It means that God will begin to give you wisdom, discernment, and boundaries. Sometimes His protection will look like peace in the middle of conflict. Sometimes it will look like strength to walk away from toxic patterns. Sometimes it will look like clarity about who should stay close and who should not have so much access to your heart. Morning prayer opens a channel for God to guide you in how you connect, how you respond, and how you guard your soul from relational attacks. Another powerful dimension of protection prayer is covering your environment. You may live or work in places where there is constant tension, gossip, anger, oppression, or even spiritual darkness. You may not be able to change your environment overnight, but you can bring the light of God into it. In the morning, you can declare, Lord, I invite your presence into my home right now. Let every room be filled with your peace. Remove any atmosphere that is not from you. I also ask you to go ahead of me into every environment I will enter today. Let your light expose what is hidden, and let your peace stand against every storm. As you do this daily, you will notice that certain atmospheres that used to crush you begin to lose some of their weight. You walk into the same place, but you are not the same. You are covered, prayed up, spiritually awake. You become an instrument that carries God's presence into dark spaces instead of a victim who absorbs whatever is happening around you. Protection is not only about what God keeps away from you, it is also about what He places inside of you so you can stand firm wherever you go. Morning protection prayers should also include your decisions. The enemy knows that one wrong decision in the wrong moment can open doors to long cycles of pain. A rushed choice, a reaction in anger, a compromise made out of fear, a financial step taken without wisdom. These can lead to consequences that last much longer than a single day. So when you wake up, it is wise to say, Lord, protect my decisions today. Do not let me be guided by impulse, fear, or pressure. Cover my mind so that I choose according to your will, not according to my impatience or emotions. If I am about to step into something that is not from you, block it. If there is a trap disguised as an opportunity, expose it. This kind of prayer invites God to intervene before you cross lines you will later regret. You may notice that something you were planning suddenly feels wrong in your spirit, or that a door you were about to walk through closes unexpectedly. In the moment, it might feel frustrating, but later you will understand that it was protection. Morning prayer places your will on the altar so that God can redirect you when necessary. It transforms your day from a sequence of random choices into a path slowly aligned with His wisdom. It is also important to understand that protection does not mean the absence of challenges. Morning prayer is not a magic formula that removes every problem from your path. Jesus never promised a life without storms. He promised His presence in the middle of them. Protection often means that what was sent to destroy you will not succeed, that what was meant to break you will be used to build you, and that what was designed to silence you will instead deepen your dependence on God. So when you pray in the morning, do not only ask God to remove every difficulty, but to protect your faith in every difficulty. You can say, Lord, whatever I face today, protect my heart so that I do not turn away from you. Let every challenge drive me closer to you, not further. Morning is also a sacred time to break agreements with fear. Many people wake up and immediately imagine everything that could go wrong. Their mind travels to worst-case scenarios, and before the day has even begun, they are living as if disaster is guaranteed. This is not harmless. Fear can open doors to confusion, bad decisions, and spiritual heaviness. In your morning prayer, you can confront this pattern by declaring, Lord, I reject the spirit of fear today. I will not agree with voices that tell me I am alone, unprotected, or destined to fail. I stand under your promise that you are with me, that you go before me, and that no weapon formed against me shall prosper without your permission. As you speak this, your spirit begins to remember who your God is. You are not covering yourself with positive thinking, you are covering yourself with truth. You are not pretending problems do not exist. You are proclaiming that your God is greater than every problem. This is the essence of spiritual protection. Not a denial of reality, but a deeper awareness of a higher reality, the presence and sovereignty of God over your life. It is also crucial to include your time and energy under God's protection. The enemy does not always attack with obvious disasters. Often he attacks by draining you slowly, through distractions, wasted time, constant small frustrations, and emotional fatigue. Suddenly the day is over, and you feel like you did so much but accomplished nothing that truly mattered. Morning prayer is a moment when you can say, Lord, protect my time today. Do not let me spend my energy on what is empty, destructive, or meaningless. Guide me to focus on what truly matters to you and to my purpose. Protect me from distractions that pull me away from your voice. Oh, when you yield your time to God at the beginning of the day, He can help you prioritize differently. He can open your eyes to see where you are giving too much to what gives you nothing back, and where you are giving too little to what feeds your soul. His protection will not only keep bad things away, it will protect you from a scattered, unfocused life. You begin to live with more intention, and your hours stop slipping away unnoticed. There is also a protection that comes through inviting God into your weaknesses. Morning is a good time to be honest about where you are most vulnerable. You know the areas where temptation feels strong, where your patience runs out quickly, where your wounds are easily triggered, where your desires fight against your spirit. Instead of hiding those areas in shame, bring them deliberately into the light as the day begins. Lord, you know the temptations that usually attack me. You know the patterns that try to repeat themselves. I ask you to protect me specifically in these areas. Strengthen me where I am weak. Remind me in the moment of pressure that I can run to you instead of collapsing. This kind of vulnerable prayer is powerful because it dismantles pride and self-reliance. You are not pretending to be stronger than you are. You are admitting your need for grace before the battle even appears. Many falls could have been avoided if there had been a morning of humility before them. protection is often born in humility. When you say, God, I cannot trust my own strength, I need yours, heaven draws close to the honest ones. Over time, as you daily ask for protection and covering, you will begin to see traces of God's interventions. You will realize that a conversation that could have turned into a major conflict was somehow softened. A road you planned to take but didn't ended up being the scene of something tragic. A compromise you almost made lost its appeal at the last minute. A wave of despair that used to crush you now passes more quickly. These are small signs that your mornings are not just routines, they are spiritual constructions. You are building a pattern. Wake, surrender, cover, walk. This is also where you can include your family in your prayers. Even if they are not praying for themselves, you can stand in the gap for them in the early hours. Lord, I ask you to cover my household today, protect my family from accidents, from sickness, from spiritual attacks, from wrong influences, from destructive friendships, from hidden traps. Place a wall of fire around this home. Let your angels guard the entrances and exits. Let your peace fill this place so that every heavy atmosphere must leave. You may not see it, but your morning intercession becomes a spiritual shelter for those you love. Do not underestimate the power of speaking blessing and protection over your home, your children, your spouse, your parents, your siblings, and even your future generations. The prayers you pray today can echo into days you will never see. God remembers the cries of those who seek his covering, and he moves in ways that go beyond what your eyes can witness in a single day. Every morning you choose to pray like this. You are sowing seeds of spiritual security into your family line. As you integrate all of this into your mornings, remember that it is not about eloquence. It is about sincerity and consistency. Your words can be simple. Lord, protect me today. Cover my mind, my heart, my steps, and my family. Keep away from me what is not from you, and draw me closer to everything that is. If this comes from a genuine heart, it is powerful. Heaven is not moved by fancy speeches. Heaven is moved by real surrender. So as you step into your next day, choose not to go uncovered. Wake up and make space, even if small at first, to invite the protection and covering of God over every area of your life. Learn to say, each morning, before the world gets loud, Lord, I place myself under your wings today. Be my shield, my guard, my guide, and my strength from the first hour to the last. That simple posture can reshape the battles you face and the way you face them. And if these words are touching your heart, if you sense that God is calling you to start your days differently, protected, covered, and guided by his presence, I want to encourage you to stay connected with this journey. Do not walk alone. Make sure you subscribe to this channel so that each new prayer, each new word, and each new teaching can keep strengthening your mornings and surrounding your life with the protection that only God can give. There is another dimension of morning prayer that many people overlook, but it is one of the most powerful for real-life transformation, inviting God not only to protect you, but to reshape you from the inside out before the day begins. Protection keeps attacks from destroying you. Transformation changes the way you live, react, think, and love in the middle of everything you face. If you only ask God to keep bad things away but never ask him to change what is happening inside you, you may remain spiritually defended but still emotionally unstable, reactive, and trapped in old patterns. That is why your mornings are a precious opportunity to say, Lord, do not just surround me, transform me. When you wake up, you do not wake up neutral. You bring with you everything that happened yesterday, last week, and sometimes even years ago. Old wounds, unfinished conversations, unprocessed disappointments, repeated frustrations, and secret sins are often waiting at the edge of your consciousness, ready to color the way you see your new day. If you do not intentionally bring these things into God's presence, they will leak into your reactions, your tone of voice, your mood, and your decisions. Morning is the hour to expose what is hidden instead of letting it silently drive you. In that first quiet space, before the rush begins, you can say, "Lord, here is my heart as it truly is. I bring before you my fears, my anger, my jealousy, my pride, my anxiety, my shame, my discouragement. I do not want to pretend with you. I want to be changed by you." This kind of honesty is the doorway to transformation. Many people think transformation begins with willpower. They tell themselves, "Today, I will be more patient. Today, I will not get angry. Today, I will not fall into that sin again." But they are trying to fight spiritual battles with human strength. Real change begins not with a promise you make to yourself, but with surrender you make to God. Morning prayer becomes the daily place where you kneel in your heart and confess, "Lord, I know where I usually fall. I know the cycles that keep repeating. I do not want to carry yesterday's chains into today. Come and work inside me. Change my desires, renew my mind, cleanse my heart, and give me a new way of responding." This is not a one-time moment. It is a process, and the process is strongest when it becomes a rhythm. Just as your physical body needs regular food, your inner life needs regular exposure to God's transforming presence. Morning prayer is like spiritual surgery done gently but consistently. Some days you will feel it clearly, a conviction, a deep comfort, a sudden clarity about something you must stop or something you must begin. Other days will feel quieter, like nothing special is happening. But in reality, every morning you offer your heart to God, He is shaping you, even when you do not perceive it fully. The clay does not always feel the hands that mold it, but the shape still changes. One of the most powerful ways to invite transformation in the morning is by asking God to renew your mind before the world has the chance to fill it. Your thoughts are the soil where your day grows. If the soil is filled with bitterness, suspicion, fear, comparison, or self-hatred, then the fruit of your day will reflect that. But if your mind is washed in God's truth early, then your reactions, decisions, and feelings will start to align more with His heart. This is why it is so important to speak to God before you scroll, to listen to His word before you listen to the voices of people, news, or social media. In that first space of the day you can pray, "Lord, I ask you to renew my mind today. Pull out the lies that have settled in my thoughts. Uproot beliefs I have accepted about myself that do not reflect your truth. Remove the exaggerations of fear, the distortions of insecurity, the stubbornness of pride. Replace them with your wisdom, your perspective, and your promises." You may choose to open a Bible and meditate on even one verse, not rushing, letting it sink in. You might repeat it in your heart, turning it into a prayer. "Let this be my thought pattern today, Lord. Let this truth guide me when my emotions try to lie to me." Transformation in the morning also includes your emotions. Many people are controlled by how they feel when they wake up. If they feel tired, everything becomes negative. If they feel lonely, they interpret everything as rejection. If they feel anxious, they expect disaster. Feelings are real, but they are not reliable leaders. Morning prayer is the moment when you place your emotions under God's authority instead of letting them drive the day. You can sit with God and say, "Lord, you see how I feel right now. I feel heavy or numb or frustrated or sad or angry. I do not want to deny it, but I also do not want to be ruled by it. I ask you to calm what is storming inside me and to align my emotions with your peace." Sometimes transformation will look like God gently uncovering the root of what you feel. You may realize that your anger is really pain. Your constant irritation might be unhealed disappointment. Your anxiety might be a deep fear of loss or failure. Your coldness might be a defense mechanism to avoid being hurt again. In the morning, in God's presence, you can allow these roots to come up instead of pushing them down. "Lord, show me why I am reacting this way. Show me where this fear comes from. Show me what wound still needs your healing touch." The more you bring these things to Him, the less power they have to secretly run your life. Transformation is also about your character, the kind of person you are when no one is watching. The morning is a sacred time to ask God to grow the fruit of His Spirit in you before you face the tests that will require them. You can pray, "Lord, grow love in me for difficult people I will encounter today. Grow joy in me that is not dependent on circumstances. Grow peace in me that is stronger than what I see. Grow patience in me so I do not respond in haste. Grow kindness in my words, goodness in my actions, faithfulness in my commitments, gentleness in my tone, and self-control in my decisions." When you pray like this consistently, you are not just asking God to fix your day, you are asking Him to form your nature. There will be days when your failures from yesterday scream at you in the morning. You may wake up and immediately remember what you said that you should not have said, the sin you fell into, the promise you broke, the opportunity you wasted. The enemy loves to take these memories and convert them into identity. You did that, therefore you are this. Morning prayer for transformation is where you refuse this conclusion. In that moment you can bow your heart and say, "Lord, I confess my sin. I do not excuse it. I bring it fully into your light. I ask for your forgiveness, your cleansing, and your power to change. I thank you that in Christ I am not defined by my worst moments. I'm defined by your grace, your cross, and your work in me. As you do this, shame begins to lose its grip. Shame says, "You are stuck. Nothing will ever be different. You may as well give up." The voice of God says, "You fell, but I am lifting you. You failed, but I am not finished. You are not your sin. You are my child, and I will keep working in you." A morning is the time to hear this voice again, to let forgiveness wash over your conscience, and to stand up with a renewed intention to walk differently. Transformation is not pretending you never fall. It is learning to rise faster, with deeper dependence on God each time you do. Another key area of transformation is your tongue. Much of the pain in our days is created or intensified by words spoken carelessly. You can cause or receive more damage in 5 minutes of uncontrolled speech than in many hours of external attacks. That is why your morning prayer is a powerful moment to surrender your tongue to God before you start speaking to the world. You can pray, "Lord, guard my mouth today. Do not let my words be weapons that cut down the people I love. Do not let gossip, complaint, sarcasm, harsh criticism, or lies flow from my lips. Fill my mouth with wisdom, encouragement, truth, and grace. Let my words carry life, not death." As you consistently ask this, you will become more aware of what you are about to say throughout the day. In the moment before a sharp response, you will sense a tug in your heart. Wait, this is not what you prayed for this morning. In the moment before you join a conversation that destroys someone's reputation, you will feel a check in your spirit. That is evidence of God answering your morning prayer by transforming your impulses. Your tongue, once ruled by emotion, slowly becomes an instrument of blessing under the influence of the Holy Spirit. Transformation also touches your priorities. Each new day asks you a question. What is truly important to you? Without intentionality, your day will be consumed by urgent things that are not necessarily important. You may end the day busy and empty, having given your best energy to what does not nourish your soul or advance your calling. In the morning, you can ask God to transform the way you choose what to do. Lord, align my priorities with yours. Show me what really matters today. Give me the courage to let go of distractions and the discipline to focus on what you are asking of me. Do not let me waste this day on what is shallow. As you pray like this, God may highlight to you that you need to invest time in reconciliation, in a quiet moment with Him, in a conversation with a family member, in an act of service, or in developing a gift He has given you. You become more sensitive to his agenda for your day, not just your own. Transformation means that your schedule slowly stops being driven only by pressure and starts being guided by purpose. Morning is where that shift begins, in the simple and sincere act of asking, "Lord, what do you want from me today?" There is also a transforming power in asking God to give you his heart for others each morning. We easily wake up focused only on our own needs, struggles, and desires. But part of being transformed is learning to see beyond yourself, to recognize that your day is not just about your comfort, but about how you can reflect God to the people around you. In the morning, you can pray, "Lord, transform my heart, so I do not walk through this day blind to others. Give me your eyes to see who is hurting, who is lonely, who needs a kind word, who needs encouragement. Use me today as your instrument, even in small ways." When you pray this way, you will start to notice little opportunities that previously passed by unnoticed. A co-worker whose silence hides pain. A family member who needs patience instead of irritation. A stranger who needs a smile. Someone online who needs a message of hope. Transformation means that your life is not only about surviving your day, but about serving in it, carrying the presence of God into ordinary moments. Morning prayer prepares your heart to live this way, available, attentive, compassionate. In inviting transformation, you may also need to ask God to confront your idols, the things you cling to more tightly than you cling to Him. These can be obvious sins, but they can also be good things that occupy the wrong place in your heart. The need for approval, the obsession with success, the attachment to control, the dependence on people, the worship of comfort. In the quiet of the morning, you can dare to pray, "Lord, show me what I am placing above you. Show me where I am bowing to fear, to opinion, to my own plans, instead of bowing to your will. I do not want to start this day with idols in my heart. Tear them down. Be my first love again." This prayer is not easy, because idols often feel safe. They give us the illusion of control, security, or value. But they always demand more and never satisfy completely. When you let God expose and overthrow them in your morning prayer, He is not trying to take joy from you. He is trying to free you from what secretly enslaves you. Transformation means that little by little, day by day, your heart becomes more anchored in Him and less dependent on what can be taken away from you. Another aspect of transformation is learning to live from a place of identity instead of insecurity. When you wake up, the enemy loves to whisper labels. You are rejected, you are weak, you are a failure, you are behind, you are unworthy, you are forgotten. If you do not confront these voices in the morning, they will color every interaction of your day. Morning prayer is the place to ask God to reaffirm who you are in Him. You can say, "Lord, remind me today that I am your child, redeemed by the blood of Jesus, loved not because of my perfection, but because of your grace. Remind me that I am chosen, not random, called, not useless, forgiven, not condemned." As you receive this truth each morning, something shifts deep within. You walk through your day less desperate for people's approval, less shattered by their rejection, less fragile in the face of criticism. Your confidence no longer grows from ego, but from belonging. Transformation does not make you arrogant. It makes you secure in God's love. Morning is where this security is renewed, where your soul hears again, "You are mine." Over time, as you engage in these transforming prayers each morning, you will look back and realize that you are not the same person you used to be. The things that once triggered you so easily now encounter more peace. The temptations that ruled you begin to lose their strength. The atmosphere inside your mind becomes lighter. You respond differently, think differently, choose differently. This is the quiet miracle of consistent mornings with God. He touches what you cannot fix by yourself. He changes what your willpower could never fully tame. He turns your heart of stone into a softer, more responsive heart. None of this happens overnight, and there will be days when you feel like nothing is changing. But transformation is often slow and subtle, like the growth of a tree. You do not see it growing each day, but if you compare the tree now with how it was months ago, you notice the difference. Your mornings with God are like water and sunlight for your soul. The roots go deeper, the trunk becomes stronger, the branches reach higher. Your life becomes more stable, more fruitful, more resilient in storms. So as you think about how you start your day, ask yourself, am I only asking God to fix what is around me, or am I asking Him to change what is within me? Morning is not only for asking God to manage your circumstances, it is for inviting Him to reshape your character. If you begin to pray this way sincerely and consistently, you will see that the greatest miracle is not always what happens to you, but what happens in you. If this speaks to your heart, if something inside you is longing not only for protection, but for true transformation through morning prayer, I want to walk with you on that journey. There will be more words, more prayers, more teachings to strengthen your spirit and guide your mornings deeper into God's presence. Make sure you subscribe to this channel so that you do not miss what God wants to pour into you day after day, morning after morning, until your life reflects more and more of the one who is transforming you from the inside out. There is a moment in the morning that becomes a crossroads for the entire day, and many people pass through it without noticing. It is that space right after you recognize the gift of a new day, after you ask for protection, after you open your heart for transformation, when you must decide whose agenda you will follow. You can move into the day driven by pressure, by people's expectations, by your own ambitions and fears, or you can move into the day guided by God's voice, God's wisdom, and God's purpose. Morning prayer is not complete if you stop at "Lord, be with me," but never say, "Lord, lead me." There is a big difference between asking God to walk beside your plans and asking God to write the plan itself. Real life transformation happens when the first question of your morning becomes, "God, what do you want from my life and from this day?" Rather than, "How can I make everything go the way I want?" When you wake up, your mind often starts creating a list. Things to do, and problems to solve, people to talk to, deadlines to meet, desires to chase. Some of those things are necessary and good, others are heavy and unnecessary, and some are subtle traps that will steal your peace and pull you away from your purpose. If you move forward without pausing in God's presence, your day quickly becomes a reaction to everything around you. But when you stop and surrender your agenda before anything else, your day becomes a response to His voice instead of to the noise of life. In the quiet of the morning, before you dive into activity, you can lay your schedule before God like an open book. You can say, "Lord, here are my plans, my tasks, my desires, the things I think I need to do. But I recognize that you see beyond what I see. You know which of these things matter for eternity and which only matter for my ego. You know which steps will bring life and which will drain me. Today, I do not want to be led by stress or by fear of missing out. I want to be led by you. Rearrange what needs to be rearranged. Cancel what needs to be cancelled. Highlight what truly matters." This prayer sounds simple, but it cuts deep. It challenges your desire to control everything. It confronts your hidden fear that if you let go of your grip, everything will fall apart. The truth is that your grip is not what holds your life together. God's hand does. When you surrender your plans to Him in the morning, you are not becoming passive or careless. You are shifting from self-dependence to God-dependence. You are saying, "I will still act, I will still work, I will still be responsible, but I refuse to carry the illusion that everything depends on me alone. I want to work with you, not ahead of you." One of the most powerful parts of seeking God's guidance in the morning is asking Him to give you clarity about what is truly from Him and what is not. Opportunities will appear that are actually distractions. Good ideas will come that are not God ideas. People will invite you into things that look appealing, but silently pull you away from your focus and calling. Without divine discernment, it is easy to say yes to the wrong things and no to the right ones. In morning prayer you can say, "Lord, give me discernment today. Do not let me be blinded by appearance. Show me what carries your fingerprint and what does not. If something is not your will, even if it looks attractive, give me the courage to decline. If something is your will, even if it scares me, give me the courage to obey." Guidance is not just about big life decisions like changing jobs, moving cities, or choosing a spouse. It is also about the smaller daily choices that shape your character and direction over time. The way you respond to a message, what you choose to focus on first, how you handle a conflict, where you invest your energy, whether you stay in a draining environment or step away. These daily choices slowly build the structure of your life. Morning prayer is the moment where you invite God into those details, not merely asking for a vague blessing over the day, but saying, "Lord, lead me in every step. When I am about to react from my flesh, remind me of your Spirit. When I am about to choose the easy way instead of the obedient way, pull on my heart. When I am about to give up on something you want me to persist in, strengthen my resolve. When I am about to cling to something you want me to release, loosen my grip." Sometimes God's guidance in the morning will come in the form of a gentle conviction about something you are planning. Maybe there is a habit you have been holding on to, something you always start your day with that slowly kills your sensitivity to God. You wake up and immediately drown your mind in noise, distraction and comparison, and by the time you notice, your heart is already dull. In the stillness of morning prayer, God may whisper, "Lay this down. This is taking the place that belongs to me. This is shaping your heart more than my presence. Let me reorder your first moments." At other times, His guidance will come through a growing burden, a sense that there is something He wants you to step into that you have been avoiding. It may be a conversation you need to have, an apology you need to give, a project you need to start, a sin you need to confess, a boundary you need to set. Often our instinct is to push these things to the background, hoping they will disappear. But morning is the time to be brave in His presence and say, "Lord, bring to the surface what I have been avoiding. If there is something you are asking from me, I do not want to run from it. Speak clearly and give me the courage to obey." Guidance is deeply connected to obedience. Many people want clarity, but do not want surrender. They want God to reveal, but they do not want to respond if what He reveals is uncomfortable. Morning prayer for guidance is dangerous in the best way, because if you pray sincerely, "Lord, lead me," He will, and His leading will sometimes take you through paths that stretch you, humble you, and confront you. He may lead you into reconciliation where your pride would prefer distance. He may lead you into service where your flesh prefers comfort. He may lead you into patience when your soul demands speed. He may lead you into hidden faithfulness when your ego craves recognition. Transformation through guidance means trusting that God's way, even when uncomfortable, is always better than your own strategy. As you develop the habit of seeking guidance each morning, you will begin to notice something. The more you listen in the early hours, the easier it becomes to recognize God's whispers in the busyness of the day. His voice does not always come as a loud, dramatic sign. It often comes as a quiet nudge, a gentle unease about a choice, a verse from Scripture resurfacing in your mind, a deep peace about a path that makes no sense humanly but aligns with His character. When you train your heart in the morning to say, "Speak, Lord, I am listening," you tune your inner ear to His frequency, and you carry that sensitivity with you into every situation. Trusting God's guidance also means accepting that you will not always understand everything in real time. There will be days when you pray, "Lead me," and then walk through confusion, delay, or closed doors. Your first instinct may be to think, "God, did you abandon me? Did I pray for nothing? Why is this so hard if I asked for your guidance?" But often, the very things that frustrate you are the tools God is using to direct you. The delay may be protecting you from entering too soon. The closed door may be saving you from a painful outcome. The confusion may be humbling you to seek Him more deeply instead of trusting your own understanding. Morning prayer for guidance is not a guarantee that everything will be smooth. It is a commitment to keep trusting even when the path is unclear. In those moments you can return to the foundation you laid in the early hours and say, "Lord, I do not understand what is happening, but I remember that I gave you this day. I remember that I asked you to lead, not me. So I choose to believe that even in this confusion, you are still guiding my steps. I will not panic. I will not rush ahead of you. Help me to wait, to listen, and to move only when you say move." Another important part of seeking guidance in the morning is asking God to align your desires with His will. Many conflicts inside us come from the tension between what we want and what God knows is best. Sometimes we want something very strongly, and we go to prayer only to ask God to bless what we already decided. But true guidance prayer sounds different. Instead of saying, "Lord, fulfill my desire no matter what," you begin to say, "Lord, if this desire is not from you, or not for this season, change it. Do not let me be enslaved by something that looks good, but is not your will. I want your will more than I want my own plan." If you say yes, I will rejoice. If you say no or wait, I still choose to trust that your heart for me is good. This level of surrender is not natural. It is produced by God in a heart that repeatedly bows before Him. Morning is the training ground for this. Each new day gives you the opportunity to practice saying, "Not my will, but yours be done," not only with your words, but with your attitude. As you repeatedly do this, your desires begin to shift. You start wanting what brings you closer to God, even if it costs you comfort. You start losing interest in what once captivated you, if it leads you away from Him. You discover that transformation is not just behavior modification, it is desire purification. God is not only trying to adjust what you do, He is cleansing what you long for. Seeking guidance in the morning also guards you against the constant comparison that steals so much joy and peace. When you wake up and immediately expose your eyes to the lives of others, your heart can quickly grow restless. You see where others are, what they have achieved, and you begin to question your own path. Why am I here and not there? Why is my progress so slow? Why do they seem so blessed while I feel stuck? If you do not catch these thoughts, you start to make decisions based on envy, insecurity, and impatience, instead of on God's timing and guidance. Morning prayer interrupts this pattern. In that first hour you can say, "Lord, I surrender my tendency to compare my journey to others. You know the path you have for me, and it will not look like anyone else's. Lead me according to your wisdom, not according to what I see in other people's lives. Protect me from jealousy and from the pressure to run a race you never asked me to run. Help me to be faithful with what you have placed in my hands today." When you pray this sincerely, you start to walk with more peace in your own lane. You respect the seasons of others without letting their season dictate your decisions. Guidance becomes personal, custom-made for you by a God who knows your story from beginning to end. He is not trying to copy someone else's script in your life. He is writing something unique through you. Another fruit of seeking God's guidance at the start of the day is that you become more aware of divine appointments, the moments God strategically places in your schedule that look ordinary but are deeply significant. It might be an unexpected conversation that opens a door to healing, a small opportunity to share hope with someone, an interruption that at first seems annoying but later reveals a hidden purpose. When you pray in the morning, "Lord, guide my steps and make me sensitive to where you are at work," you become more present and perceptive. Instead of seeing interruptions only as obstacles, you start to ask, "Is there something you are doing here, God?" Guidance is not only about big directions. It is about recognizing God in small details. Over time, as you continue to surrender your day in the morning and ask for guidance, you may notice that your life gains a new harmony. You feel less scattered, less pulled in 10 directions at once. There is still work, there are still responsibilities, challenges and storms, but beneath it all is a quiet sense that you are not just drifting, you are being led. You begin to look back over weeks and months and see a pattern. Doors that opened at the right time, connections that mattered, internal changes that prepared you for new seasons, closed paths that protected you from harm. This awareness deepens your trust. It makes morning prayer not a religious duty, but a lifeline you would never want to lose. You start to realize that the greatest tragedy is not a day that does not go according to your plan. It is a day in which you never invited God to speak into your plan. The more you know Him, the more you want His guidance above your own confidence. You discover that safety is not in having everything under control, but in walking closely with the one who truly does. So when you wake up tomorrow, resist the impulse to rush straight into doing. Before your feet hit the floor, before your mind dives into tasks, pause for a moment and open your heart in sincerity. Lay your plans before God. Place your desires on the altar. Present your fears, your questions, your uncertainties. Ask Him to guide your steps, to correct your path where it is crooked, to redirect you where you are moving in a wrong direction, and to give you the courage to obey when His leading confronts your comfort. Tell Him with honesty that you want His will more than your own control. And then, as the day unfolds, keep returning in your heart to that morning prayer. When you are unsure, remember, I asked Him to guide me. He is with me even now. When something unexpectedly changes, whisper, I do not understand, but I trust that you are still leading. When an opportunity appears, ask, is this from you, Lord? Let your whole day become a continued conversation with the God you invited to lead your morning. If this is speaking to you, if you sense that God is calling you not only to seek protection and transformation, but also to walk under His daily guidance, I want to invite you to stay on this journey. There is so much more that God wants to reveal, teach, and do in your mornings and in your life. Make sure you subscribe to this channel so that each new message, each new prayer, and each new word continues to guide your heart. Train your ears to hear God's voice and strengthen your steps as you learn to walk every day under His loving and wise direction. There is one more dimension of morning prayer that brings everything together and carries it from a beautiful idea into a lived reality. Choosing to walk the entire day in the same atmosphere you created in those first moments with God. Many people pray in the morning and then close that door as soon as they say, Amen. They leave their place of prayer and step into their schedule as if that sacred time were disconnected from the rest of the day. But morning prayer is not meant to be a moment you visit and abandon. It is meant to be the doorway into a continuous walk with God that stretches from the first breath you take in the morning to the last thought you have before you sleep. When you wake up and pray, you are not just performing a task and completing it. You are setting a direction. You are pointing your heart toward God and saying, this is the way I want to live today, aware of you, dependent on you, surrendered to you, trusting you. The key is learning how to carry that posture into everything that follows. It is one thing to feel close to God when you are still, when the house is quiet, when no one is demanding anything from you. It is another thing to remain connected when your phone starts vibrating. Responsibilities pile up, people frustrate you, and unexpected situations arise. The goal of powerful morning prayers is not to give you a temporary escape from reality, but to anchor you so deeply in God that you can remain rooted in Him while you live in reality. That is why, in your morning time, it is so important to not only talk to God, but also consciously invite Him to walk with you into every environment you will enter. You can say something simple yet profound. Lord, I do not want to leave you here in this quiet room. Come with me into my kitchen, into my car, into my workplace, into every conversation. Remind me throughout the day that you are near. Help me to turn my heart back to you again and again, even in the middle of noise, pressure, and activity. When you pray this sincerely, the Holy Spirit begins to do exactly that. He gently reminds you, nudges you, and calls you back to awareness of God in the middle of ordinary moments. Walking out your day in the atmosphere of morning prayer means that you start to see your routine differently. Things you used to do on autopilot now become opportunities for communion. Washing dishes, driving, working, cleaning, caring for children, answering emails. None of these are barriers to God's presence. They are places where His presence can be experienced in a quieter but very real way. You can whisper prayers under your breath, pause for a few seconds to say, "Thank you, Lord," or "Help me here," or "Give me wisdom in this conversation." The same God who met you when you first opened your eyes is with you when you are tired in the afternoon and when you are reflecting in the evening. Of course, the day will not always flow smoothly. There will be moments when the peace you embraced in the morning feels like it is slipping away. An unexpected conflict erupts. A harsh word hits your heart. A plan falls apart. A worry you thought you had surrendered comes back louder than before. In those moments, it is easy to think, "I lost everything I prayed for this morning. My day is ruined." But the truth is that the atmosphere of your morning is not destroyed by a single moment of weakness or difficulty. It is tested, and in that test, you have the opportunity to return. This is one of the most important habits you can develop. Returning to God again and again, not only in the morning, but in the middle of your day. When you feel the old pattern returning, you can pause, even if only for a few seconds, and say, "Lord, I feel my heart getting heavy again. I feel anger rising. I feel fear knocking. I feel impatience growing. I do not want to walk away from what we started this morning. Help me, reset my heart, restore the peace you gave me, cover me again." You do not need a long, eloquent prayer at that moment. You just need honesty and a turning of your heart. Morning prayer teaches you the language, pace, and posture of this returning, so it becomes natural over time. Another part of carrying morning prayer into your day is learning to see your challenges through the lens of what you prayed. If in the morning you asked God for protection, guidance, and transformation, then throughout the day you can remind yourself, "I'm not facing this alone. I asked for protection. Therefore, this situation, even if hard, is not outside of God's sight. I asked for guidance. Therefore, there is wisdom available to me right now. I asked for transformation. Therefore, this challenge is not just a random obstacle. It is also an opportunity for God to shape me deeper." This mindset does not deny the difficulty of what you go through, but it refuses to see it as pointless or unaccompanied. Walking the day in the continuation of your morning prayer also means you become more intentional about what you allow to enter your mind and heart as the hours pass. The words you hear, the media you consume, the people you give your attention to, these can either reinforce the atmosphere of faith and peace you cultivated in the morning, or slowly erode it. This does not mean you must live isolated, but it does mean you must live discerning. Ask yourself, as the day goes on, is this pulling my heart closer to God or away from Him? Is this feeding my spirit or feeding my fear and anger? Is this supporting the transformation I asked for this morning, or is it dragging me back into old patterns? There will be times when the answer is clear, and you will need to step back from certain conversations, that extra hour of scrolling, that content that stirs up comparison, lust, anxiety, or hopelessness. In those moments, you are not just being disciplined. You are protecting the sacred work that God started in you that morning. You are saying, I value what God is doing in my heart too much to let it be choked by constant noise and negativity. This is how morning prayer spills into afternoon choices and late-night boundaries. Living in the atmosphere of morning prayer also affects the way you speak throughout the day. If in the morning you ask God to guard your tongue, to help your words carry life and not death, then a part of walking that out is paying attention to what comes out of your mouth. When you catch yourself slipping into constant complaint, criticism, gossip, or hopeless declarations, you can stop, remember your morning, and choose a different direction. You might say, Lord, forgive me. This is not how I want to use my words. Help me to speak with grace, even under pressure. Help me to declare your truth instead of feeding negativity. Little by little, this practice changes you. You become slower to throw sharp words, slower to join destructive conversations, slower to curse your own day with phrases like, nothing ever works out, my life will never change, or I am just unlucky. Instead, you begin to declare, even in weakness, God is with me. I do not see the full picture, but He is working. This is hard, but it will not break me. I am not abandoned. I am guided. You start to sound more like the person you were becoming in that early morning silence, even when everything around you is loud. There is also a deep connection between your morning prayer and the way you end your day. If you start your day with God, but end it far from Him, tangled in distractions and frustrations, you will feel the dissonance. One powerful way to strengthen the impact of your mornings is to close your nights by looking back in God's presence. Before you sleep, you can take a few minutes to review the day with Him. Lord, this morning I asked for your protection, your guidance, your transformation. Show me where you were moving today. Show me where you protected me, even in ways I did not see. Show me where I obeyed your voice and where I resisted it. Show me where I let go of what we started and where I stayed connected. This kind of reflection does two things. First, it fills you with gratitude as you recognize God's subtle interventions. A conversation that went better than expected, a temptation that lost power, a worry that dissolved, a small decision that later revealed its importance. Second, it keeps you humble and honest about where you still need growth. Instead of sinking into guilt when you fail to live according to your morning commitment, you can bring those moments into the light. Lord, here I reacted in the flesh. Here I said something I regret. Here I let fear lead me. I confess this and ask you to help me start tomorrow with a softer heart, a more obedient spirit. In this way, your nights prepare your mornings, and your mornings shape your days. You will notice that as this cycle repeats, morning surrender, daytime awareness, nighttime reflection, your life slowly aligns more deeply with God. Patterns that seemed unbreakable begin to weaken. Places where your emotions used to rule without resistance now feel more influenced by His peace. Spiritual truths that once felt like theory now start to feel like lived reality. Morning prayer, combined with a willingness to walk daily in what you prayed, becomes less of a discipline and more of a lifestyle. Still, there will be seasons when you do not feel anything. You will wake up, pray, and the words will feel dry. You will walk through your day trying to stay aware of God, but your emotions will not cooperate. You will tuck yourself into bed and look back, thinking, did anything really change? Is this making any difference? These are the moments when you must remember that faith is not measured by constant emotional intensity. The transformation that God works through morning prayer and daily walking is often hidden for a while. Roots grow beneath the surface long before branches bear fruit. The absence of strong feelings does not mean the absence of God's work. In those seasons, your faithfulness matters more than ever. Keep showing up in the morning, even if your heart feels numb. Keep inviting God into your day, even if you feel distracted. Keep reflecting at night, even if you can only manage a few words. Every time you do, you are saying, "Lord, I am not here because I feel something. I am here because I trust you. I am not meeting you only for emotional experiences. I am meeting you because I believe this is where my life is most aligned with truth." God honors that kind of perseverance. It builds spiritual muscle in you, strength that will hold you steady in future storms. Walking out your days in the atmosphere of morning prayer also shapes how you handle success and blessing. It is easy to seek God passionately when you're in crisis, but when things begin to go well, there is a subtle temptation to relax spiritually, to depend less, to pray less. Morning prayer, if taken seriously, becomes an anchor that keeps you close to God in both the valley and the mountaintop. On days when doors open, when prayers are answered, when favor shows up unexpectedly, you can still wake up and say, "Lord, thank you. But I still need you just as much today as in my darkest hour. Protect me from pride, from forgetting your hand, from thinking that I achieved this on my own. Keep my heart humble and aware that every good thing comes from you." This posture keeps your blessings from becoming idols and ensures that the more God entrusts to you, the more deeply you lean into Him instead of drifting away. Your life becomes a consistent testimony, not of a person who only runs to God in emergencies, but of someone who genuinely walks with Him daily, in joy and in pain, in lack and in abundance. Throughout this journey, you will also notice that the way you see yourself and others changes. Morning prayer for protection, transformation, guidance and presence will soften your heart toward your own weaknesses and toward the weaknesses of others. You will remember how much you depend on mercy every single day, and you will become quicker to extend that mercy to those around you. You will begin to see people less as obstacles or sources of frustration, and more as souls who are also fighting battles, feeling fears, carrying wounds. The patience you receive from God in the morning becomes the patience you extend in the afternoon. The forgiveness you receive when you fail becomes the forgiveness you offer when others fail you. This is life transformation at work. Not only that you feel more peaceful, but that you become more Christ-like. The goal of morning prayer is not just that you would feel better, but that you would become more like the one you are talking to. Day after day, as you start your mornings with Him and invite Him into your minutes and hours, His ways begin to shape your ways. Your reactions start to look less like your old self and more like the heart of Jesus, gentle but strong, compassionate but truthful, surrendered yet bold. If you could see from heaven's perspective the impact of a life lived this way, a life that starts every day in surrendered prayer, walks each hour in awareness, and closes each night in reflection, you would never again dismiss morning prayer as a small or optional thing. You would see the spiritual chains that quietly broke because you chose to kneel at dawn. You would see the generational patterns that shifted because you brought your family before God day after day. You would see the seeds of hope planted in other people's hearts because you chose to respond differently in moments of tension. You would see the inner strongholds that slowly crumbled as you kept bringing your fears, sins, and wounds into the light each morning. So let this truth settle deeply in you. Your morning with God is not wasted, and it is not isolated. It is connected to everything. It touches the way you think, speak, work, love, and endure. It prepares you not only to be protected from what is against you, but to be aligned with the one who is for you. Every day you wake up and choose to begin with Him, you are giving God one more piece of your story to write. You are giving Him room to protect, transform, guide, and accompany you in ways you could never orchestrate on your own. If this message has been stirring something inside you, if you feel a desire to build this kind of life, where every day begins under the covering of powerful morning prayer and unfolds in the light of God's presence, I want to encourage you not to walk this journey alone. There are more prayers, more teachings, more words waiting to strengthen your mornings and shape your days. Make sure you subscribe to this channel so that each new video can continue to help you rise under God's protection. Walk in His transformation, listen to His guidance, and live every day closer to the purpose and peace He has prepared for you.